But hey, listen, what's up, guys? My name is Corey Lane. Most of you know me, if not all of you know me. So we've got, little Kenny, a lot of Kenny Arnoff for you. So this is welcome to our Thinkorswim platform Immersion, and happy to have you guys all here. I expected probably today's overall attendance to be, somewhat lower than our trading rooms for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's kind of smack dab in the middle of the day, and I know that we're all kind of quarantined at home as best as possible, but that doesn't always mean that we have just an open 2 hours to spend together. So this is going to be recorded. It actually is recording already. I'm pretty sure you got my air drum fill on the recording, so that should be exciting. And so, Tom, welcome. Just joined Traders Army. Welcome, buddy. Happy to have you. Ask away all the questions. Email support@tradersarmy.com, or you can text us as well. The number is at the top left-hand corner of the website. We're happy to help in every way that we can. So it's good to see everybody here. So we got folks coming in from all around the world, all around the country. I live in Yorba Linda, California, so I'm on the West Coast. It's 10 a.m. here. So this session is all about Thinkorswim and immersing ourselves in how to really navigate the platform. And I know we have a lot of members who are already on Thinkorswim, who've been on Thinkorswim for many weeks, years, months, you name it. I've been on Thinkorswim as a platform for about 15 years. So I'm, well, I probably don't know everything there is to need to know, like the programmers of Thinkorswim would. We're not going to go probably through every possible feature and every possible scan and every possible thing that Thinkorswim could possibly do. How many times could I say possible? But we are going to get this for the next, I've slated 2 hours for this, so we're going to dive in as deep as we possibly can, starting with logging into the platform for the first time. So understand that some of this stuff is probably very old to you. This is meant to be able to be watched over and over and over again, paused and recorded and stopped, and adjust your Thinkorswim platform to your liking. Take some of the suggestions that maybe we've come up with in our own trading platforms and say, you know what, I like the way that looks, I'm going to copy that. Or, you know what, that doesn't really appeal to me, but I didn't even know those settings were there. So now I can go ahead and customize my Thinkorswim platform to my own liking. So that's kind of what this session is designed to be. It's not designed to really look at charts and identify, market opportunities. It's just designed to be an immersion into the platform to get people, at least less scared of using it and less intimidated and get it kind of running for whatever frequency or whatever style of trader you are. So Petra, what's up? So let's see. We got, haven't done options in about a year, right? Opened Thinkorswim up yesterday and having some issues. Petra, it'd be nice to know if you have any issues that are related to the platform specifically, or are they issues related to just, not quite sure functionality wise. So any questions you guys have about the platform, throw it in the chat box. There is a pretty good chance that I will be posting this on YouTube, just so you guys know, which means the world will have access to it at some point. But you guys are invited to ask your questions as pro members of tradersarmy.com and be involved in the live environment. So the reason I say that is when someone asks a question, the chat box is not going to show up on YouTube. Therefore, I'm going to read the question out loud again when it's asked, and then we're going to go into answering the question for everybody who's watching back on the archived recording. So depending upon how long, I've slated 2 hours. We may go the full 2 hours. We may not. But I'm going to start from the very beginning. First time you ever open Thinkorswim, let me get this splash screen out of the way. First time you ever open Thinkorswim, you're going to be met with this window. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning. Now, there's a couple things. The reason I didn't log in right away to the platform is because there's some settings that you're going to want to change to keep your Thinkorswim platform running smoothly, whether you're on a Windows machine or you're on a Mac OS machine or whatever type of machine you're on. You've got your login window, and you can log in between paper trading, paper money, or live trading. Now, there's value in paper money, and that is so you can kind of test out strategies a little bit, test out the platform and get to know the functionality of the platform and practice your order entry without using real money. That's where the value of paper money really is. But know that all the money you make on paper does not transfer over to your live trading account. I know you know that, but just having some fun there. Also, let me be clear on this. If you go through in your paper money account, and you set up all the features and functionality of your charts and all that stuff, and you make it look exactly how you want it to look, unfortunately, those same settings do not carry over to your live trading platform. They are treated as two separate platforms within one, and none of your settings are going to carry over, unfortunately, at least your chart settings and things like that. So when you're going through and setting up your final platform that you're going to be using on a daily basis for trading and investing with real money and your real account and all that, you're going to want to make sure that you do that in your live trading and just kind of practice on your paper money with order entry. So yeah, good to know there, right? Also, before you hit this login button, you can type in your password anytime. I'll type mine in a second, but there's this little cog wheel to the bottom left, this little gear looking thing. If you click on that, you can actually obviously change the language, change the color scheme. Mine is set to light. I believe the default is dark these days. It always has been. But you can kind of mess around with the different color schemes, whatever's best on your eyes. So I like the light setting. You can choose your font size right here. And by the way, you can change all of this stuff once you're in the platform, these couple top settings. I'll leave it on medium for now because that seems to be the best for presenting to the world. And so if the font is too small, it's hard for you guys to read. If it's too big, it squishes the platform and it makes it hard to navigate. Normally, I keep mine on small. My eyesight's not too bad. I can see it. It works for me. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to keep it on medium. Now, memory usage. This is going to be different for a little bit of for everybody here, because this memory usage usually starts out somewhere on the smaller end. It's going to use up a certain portion of the memory that you have installed on your computer. So the more memory you have installed on your computer, the more you can allocate to thinkorswim. And in my experience, the more that we allocate, the better. It just means that thinkorswim has the ability to run a lot smoother when you're allocating more memory. Not sure you want to allocate all of your memory to thinkorswim, especially if you're running other platforms in the background, any sort of internet browsers or Spotify or for music or Discord for chat rooms or anything. But I like to give thinkorswim a fair amount of attention from the memory department. You can go all the way up and give it all the memory in the world if you want to. But just realize that that's going to take away some memory from some of your other programs that you're running. But if you're not running very many platforms at the same time, then you're good to go there. So I'm just going to save my settings there. And those settings will be saved for each time you go to log in to the platform. So you only have to change those once. And you can modify those settings at any time. So once we log in, I'm going to log in, and I've reset my entire platform back to factory default. Now, the cool thing about setting it back to factory default is that if you've saved any chart settings or if you've saved any grids or anything like that, those are all saved on the thinkorswim cloud and in your preferences, okay? So let me move my thinkorswim platform to this main window, okay? And the main window, let me expand it to go full screen. There we are. Normally starts out with the home screen, okay? Normally starts out with the home screen. Now, you've got messages at the top. You've got, hang on a second. Let's go back here. You got messages at the top. You've got support and chat at the top. And so we'll get through all these menu items here in just a moment. But let's see here on the question-wise. I don't want to get too far behind on questions. Melanie says, I'm so much more comfortable with TradeStation. Fair enough. Gave up on it because it had technical issues every single time trading day from really the high volatility period of time we saw back in March of 2020, which is just a couple of months ago. Focusing more on thinkorswim. Oh yeah, my pleasure, Melanie. Happy to do that. Yeah, I've heard a lot of that about certain platforms kind of failing to do their job during high volatility and high volume time frames. I think every platform is going to have a little bit of a little bit of something that they're not really completely prepared for when things get really volatile. And some platforms do better than others, and so it's not a bad idea to have a couple backups, right? Do you know how to get live data in paper trading instead of delayed data? Well, Carl, Arlene, your number one, your platform is funded with real money, correct? The platform is funded with real money, even though you're okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to double check a setting. We'll log back out in a little bit. We'll log back into paper trading, and we'll double check one big setting here in a second. But when you're in your platform for the first time, obviously you're not going to have any lines drawn on your charts. There's no real indicators. You've got the main section of your platform is going to be where your charts are. And you can add all these different lower indicators and overlay indicators, which I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then on your far left-hand side, you'll have all of your account information. So you can set your account information to private or keep it unlocked, so you can always see your account information. So that can be found up here. And then you'll have some what are called gadgets on the far left-hand side, right? So you'll have the ability to customize the left-hand side of your platform to put whatever little gadgets you want. And so down here at the very bottom left-hand corner, there's a little plus sign. If you click on this plus sign, it'll give you a list of all the different gadgets that you could add to the left-hand side of your menu there. And you could leave those gadgets connected to the main window, or you could detach those gadgets for those who have multiple monitor setups, multiple screens. You might want to put your gadgets on one screen and just leave one screen for charts and one screen for order entry and have another screen for your news feeds and whatever it is you do. So you can keep everything contained in one window, which is how I prefer to keep it, especially because I do some traveling and I leave my house every now and then and I'm on a laptop. Or you can detach the gadgets, and I'll show you how to do that in a second as well. So you can add whatever gadgets you want. They have live news coming in from CNBC. You can do scratch pads, calculators, you name it, okay? Watch lists. Just for reference, I typically use my left-hand side for my watch lists, stuff that I am watching on a daily basis or a weekly basis, upcoming potential trade opportunities, things like that. So the gadgets that you have over here, you can leave them in place, or a lot of times what I do when I'm setting up a platform for the first time is I just go ahead and I click on this little top right hand, what looks like three little stacks, right? I show the actions menu, and I'll go ahead and delete the gadgets, and I'll just click on each one and I'll delete them. And I'll go ahead and start from scratch with a blank left-hand column, okay? If you don't want anything on the left-hand side, you could click this little menu and it'll just expand to a full-blown chart. That is it, okay? But if we're gonna add a gadget, I like to add, personally, watch list gadgets. So I come over here to the plus sign, bottom left-hand corner, and I just click on watch list. Now, the thing about Thinkorswim's platform is they have watch lists already pre-built by the company themselves. And so you can go up here under this one by default brings up sectors/ETFs. That's just what mine brings up. Yours might bring up something that says default, right? But I've gone through a lot of setup process, so my defaults might be a little bit different than your defaults. But now you can go under here and you can select which watch lists you want to choose, okay? So anything that says public is something that Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade have already gone and pre-set up. So you could choose any one of them. Lovers and losers, upgrades, downgrades, post-market and pre-market movers, top 10 lists, and you can have watch lists set aside by industry or sector. I've personally gone through and set up my own watch lists that I would reference on a daily basis. So if I'm just looking at kind of your major markets, just kind of a basic watch list of the indexes, some commodity futures, index futures, currencies that I watch on a daily basis, and that's just kind of my main watch list. So you can customize these in any way, shape, or form. And you'll notice at the bottom of any watch list that you create, so for instance, let's go back to one of the public watch lists. Say we're just watching for instance, let's just say that it was it came up I don't know, any one of these, right? All ETFs, right? Maybe that was what your default was, okay? You could say, well, I don't want to use any of their default watch lists. I want to go ahead and create my own. So there's an option to create your own watch list. And then you name your watch list, my watch list, okay? My watch list, there we go. And then you can start putting your symbols in here. Now, a couple cool things is you can just type your symbols. Apple, for instance, hit return, come down here. Google, for instance, hit return. Tesla, for instance, you can put whatever stocks or futures or forex markets you want and just dump them right in. Click save, and then that will save your watch list, and you can bring that watch list up at any time from any computer that has thinkorswim running on it, any mobile device that has thinkorswim running on it, that you're logged into your username. So that's an important thing to mention, is that thinkorswim runs off of cloud servers. And so when you save your settings and you save your watch list and you save your chart settings, all of that gets saved to where you can access it at any time from any computer or any mobile device. So a lot of the settings will transfer over from device to device, which is really, really convenient. Some platforms do not do that, especially platforms that are generally downloaded to your computer and run natively on your computer. So while the platform is run natively on your machine, it accesses information on the cloud. So it's really, really convenient for everybody. Another thing is if you want to import a watch list, right? Meaning if you have a watch list of stocks that someone sent to you in, say, an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe you ran a screener off of, say, FinViz, or maybe you ran a screener off of, IBD from investors.com, whatever. You ran a screener on another platform. You have now a list of stocks that you want to look at. You don't have to type them in one by one into your platform. You can actually import them by selecting the sort of file, right? So you can select a file and then import them that way. Or you can paste them. So if you've copied them into your onboard clipboard, copy and paste right into the clipboard, and it'll list all of your new watch list that you pasted right in there. So I don't have anything on my clipboard, so I'm not going to do that. But there's a lot that you can do with the watch list to really customize your side panel here. So for reference, what I normally use is I have just my basic markets, right, that I watch. And you can sort by symbol, you can sort by price, you can sort by a lot of different functions up here in these columns. And you can customize these columns as well. Any one of the columns, you can click on the little cog. There's a lot of cogs, a lot of these little gear looking icons everywhere in the platform. And what I suggest is clicking on all of them. See what they bring up. They're going to bring up a menu and allow you to customize some sort of function. The one thing that I like about this platform is you can't really break it. So I always suggest just click the button, see what it does, right? So if I click this button, it'll give me the ability to customize all my columns. So you can add, percent change. I always have percent change. If you want to keep the bid and the ask of the market over here, you can absolutely do that. Or you can click on those items and remove them. And then if you accidentally remove them, just add them back by coming and finding. You can add indicators. You can customize indicators. If you want to know what the daily ATR of that particular market is, you can customize your daily ATR and say, I want to see just a simple average true range of that particular market, and it'll load the daily ATR right next to your market. So if at a quick glance you ever want to know, without having an indicator at the bottom of your chart, what the ATR of the S&P 500 is, then you can look right over here and see what the daily ATR is, right? And you can customize those as well. You can say, well, what if I want to look at the hourly ATR, or, that's actually the monthly ATR. So we can customize this to day, hourly ATR, 5-minute average true range, you name it. Customize it, click apply, click OK to set it in stone, and it'll recalculate everything that you just changed, okay? Tom asked the question, when you enable futures with TD Ameritrade, will the account info show up under the account info? Yes, it should show up under the account info, absolutely. If you enable forex or futures and you have to get authorization to trade forex, futures, and options in your platform, And so as you enable and get authorization to trade those, all of that would show up in the left-hand column. Now, one note about forex is you actually can see all of your forex trades inside this main window. However, they make you fund a separate forex account. So if you have, for instance, $100,000 in your Thinkorswim or TD Ameritrade account, and you want to apply that money to a forex trade, you can't really do it without moving some of your $100,000 into a forex specific account. Okay, futures, options, stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, you name it, it can all be traded within the main window. But for forex, they make you actually move some money over into a separate forex account. But everything is still visible and seen and traded within the main Thinkorswim platform. So when you activate that, you'll actually see a forex section under here as well, under your account info section. Got it? So add as many gadgets as you want to the left. I always have a few gadgets. Number one, I have my watch list for my main, and I also have my watch list for, let's go up here to my personal, and I use positions, right? So looking at my current positions or positions that I am watching over here. So you can expand and contract these watch lists, so you can make it a little cleaner if you want. Another watch list that I always keep up, just add another gadget, add another watch list, is what's called the penny increment options watch list. That one is a public watch list built by Thinkorswim. And the reason I use this watch list is because these are going to represent some of the more liquid stocks with liquid options that trade in penny increments, meaning the premium values are trading in penny increments. So you can adjust your entries and exits in penny increments, not nickel or dime increments like some less liquid options. So I keep that watch list up because I scan this watch list with my eyes a couple of times a week for new potential opportunities. But if you don't want to see all these ticker symbols flashing their red and green in your face, you could always just minimize that watch list and expand it when you need it. And again, keep in mind that I customized my market watch list to include ATR, remove the bid and the ask, and I added net percent change, right? So once you customize one watch list, notice that it doesn't customize the other new gadgets. A new gadget will go back to default settings. So if you want to change your settings for each watch list and customize them for each watch list, you would have to do that separately by clicking on the cog and customizing, okay? Again, you could add anything like live news. So if you like to see the news feed, you can see just the general news feed or company-specific news. So if you type in Apple, you can see company-specific news here, which is really nice. You can change the gadget or delete that gadget. You can look at, let's see, currency maps, level 2, small little quick charts, scratch pads for notes, live news. You can even get time and sales reports, Tetris, right? You can play a game. What in the world? Why do they have a game in the far left-hand corner? Why? To keep you from idle hands, from doing the devil's work, which is messing with your trades, right? And so this keeps you occupied if you have nothing else in your life to occupy you and you just love to stare at charts and tinker with things. Those of you who have done that before know that that can be very dangerous. So you can certainly, find yourself doing other things around the house. But if you just have nothing else to do, you can play a fancy game of Tetris in your platform to keep you from tinkering, I suppose. So I'm going to delete that gadget. So again, just delete that gadget, get that out of here. And again, you can customize this whole left-hand column to your liking and hide it whenever you don't want it and expand it when you want it back. Okay. Any questions about the gadget section on the far left before I move on? Any questions about the gadget section? Oh, and by the way, when you save your watch lists, right? When you save them, they will show up. You create them and save them. Okay. If you've built a watch list and you want to continue to save it, just make sure that you go ahead and you'll see it under all your personal here. Okay. So This information will transfer from computer to computer. The platform saves this on the cloud so you can access it anywhere. If you ever want to delete any of your watch lists that you've built and you're like, I don't use that one anymore, just expand any one of the market watch lists, come down to delete, and then you can find your watch list that you've created, alphabetically sorted into 2 or 3 different buckets here, and you can just click delete and you're done, okay? Edit any one of them and share them. So I've had people say, hey, can you share your watch list with me if I built a custom watch list? And absolutely, I can share that, right? So you can come over here and you can say, I'm going to share that. And then you can share that with somebody else who's on Thinkorswim. No problem, okay? Which makes it really nice and convenient to share with your community. Again, since I haven't seen any questions in the chat box on the watch list or on the gadget side of the platform, I'll move on. So that's your gadget section. Another thing that I want to point out really quick is, again, I'll say it 100 times, a lot of the settings that you customize in the Thinkorswim platform will transfer over from platform to platform. So one of the questions that I got in email a couple of days ago about Thinkorswim in preparation for this session was, how do I make sure that I set up some chart grids, and I want to see multiple charts on one page, but I want to be able to access those grids from other computers? The platform will save that information. So long as you save it on one machine, it'll save it so you can access it and recall that information on another device. Now, what I've found is some of the settings in all the settings in your gadget side, those will carry over. All your settings in your charts will carry over. So you notice at the top of your main window, which is charts, you've got all these tabs up top, and we'll look at those here in a second. You have a little cog at the very top, and this cog will open up chart settings, okay? Platform will save your chart settings. In the very top right-hand corner of your platform, there are application settings. So there's a difference between gadget settings, chart settings, and application settings. Application settings are global settings that you would apply to your system, and those are computer specific, right? So what I've found is if I go from one laptop to another laptop, a lot of those application settings do not carry over. You'll have to set those up again. And so let's go into the application settings really quick to see what's offered in the application settings. So far top right-hand corner, application settings, okay? And then this is going to open up some main account preferences. So by the way, Carl and Arlene, this is where you're going to look in your papers platform to see if you're getting any sort of delayed data or real time. So this is that area that you're going to want to look. So you've got account information. What accounts do you want to display? Do you have a default account that you want to operate out of? You can change that here as well. Show all your forex account info. If you have a forex separate account, you can show all that as well. Orders, right? Show expected price. You can get all your information from your orders. Positions, this is where you would customize in your monitor tab how your monitor tab is displaying information. And so you can mess around with what option Greeks are displayed in your layout, what position, profit or loss is displayed in your main layout. So do you want to see, I always want to see my profit and loss since I opened a position, and my profit and loss just for today only. You might want to see that information displayed in percentages. I want to see it displayed in dollars. Why? I pay my bills in dollars, not percentages. Percentages are great for bragging to other people about how much you made at cocktail parties, right? Percentage-wise. But none of us pay our bills in percentages, so I'm less concerned about percentages as I am dollars, profit and loss. So I always keep mine in dollars. You can keep an eye on your buying power effect. What are your margin requirements, right? For each position, that's important because you want to know how close you are to running out of available capital to trade. You might run into margin issues. If you use too much of your capital and things are going south on some of your positions, you may get a margin call situation. So it's important to understand what your margin requirements are for each position, and you can display that data really quickly in your settings here. You can group your different positions by the instrument, which is what I prefer to do, whatever the vehicle is, trade time or the order itself. I think it's easy to just go instruments. And then how many lines are you looking at in your positions table? So all this information is going to be displayed and changed once you're in your monitor tab, okay? So go back into settings here, application settings. Active trader, right? So this has to do with the active trader order submission rate, right? So you can, delay how many seconds once you place an order, how much time, goes by before it actually sends. I want zero delay, right? Zero delay. Under your system settings, Carl and Arlene, this is where you want to double check on your paper side, because oftentimes, even on your real live trading account, this will not be default set to real time, no delay. A lot of times it's set to moderate, max delay 3 seconds. Well, as an active investor, I want zero delay, which, by the way, uses more processing power on your machine, but I don't care. I want real-time, zero delay on my quotes coming in. Very difficult to trade on delayed quotes. So you want to change that setting under system, real-time, no delay. There's sounds that occur when you start up and all that. So I just kind of leave, a lot of these settings are default settings. I don't change many of these. Security settings, auto lock on timeout. I never use auto lock because I'm always doing this at home. If I were worried about somebody coming up to my machine and kind of messing around with stuff, and my kids coming in and placing trades without my permission, whatever it happens to be, I'd want this to lock so no one can come in and make changes. But that's never the case for me. So I keep that set to never. On startup, you can choose what workspace you view on startup. Look and feel. This is where you can, again, customize those settings that we were customizing upon login to change your color scheme. So you can test color schemes to see what works on your eyes a little bit better. Font size, look and feel. Navigation, so all these different, menus, and, you can change settings here. Display, you can choose what you display. Like, so for instance, how many decimal points for the option Greeks? I believe the default is 4 or 5. You want to see at least 2, but I prefer to see 3, and you can round up or round down. So that's decimal points for all of your option Greeks throughout the platform. Show the message center. I don't show the message center. I generally don't really care too much about the messages that they send. I know that my order confirmations will show up as messages, but I also know that Thinkorswim likes to send me, hey, here's what we're doing today, or here's a presentation we're making, and here's a live chat that we're doing at this time. I don't really need to see that stuff, but if you like to, then you can turn that stuff on. Another really important one is what options types are you showing in your platform? So let me show you an example. So if I go over here to the trade tab, and these are all your tabs at the very top, your analyze tab, right? So if I'm on trade or analyze, you can see a lot of the same information, right? Analyze, add simulated trades is going to be the very same little sort of layout window as the trade tab, looking at whatever market you're looking at. So in this case, it's the SPY, okay? If I type in SPY and I want to see the option market, notice that I can see all the same option expiration, weeklies, monthlies, quarterlies. I go over to the trade tab and I see all the same stuff, right? I can scroll down to see more expirations. I go to the analyze tab, I can scroll down to see all the same expirations, right? So these two tabs are similar. And I'll give you my preferences here in just a moment, but if you're just looking to make a trade and just get it done, you can just go right off of this trade tab. You've got all products listed. You've got, as a sub-tab, forex trader. So you've got these big dashboard buttons that you can, buy and sell for forex. Futures, kind of the same thing, where you can bring up a grid of dashboard charts and big buttons, so you can just press the buy and the sell button quickly. Active trader, which gives you market depth and what is referred to in some platforms as the matrix or depth of market. So you can set this up to quickly click on the bid or the ask to submit buy and sell orders. So you can set up your active trading platform here. But all of this information is what I'm going over really quickly, because you might want to display less or more information related to options in your platform. And I want to personally see all my monthly options, all my weekly options, and all my quarterly expiration options. So what else is there? What do I not want to see? Well, let's go into the setup window again, application settings, down to display. Well, first and foremost, I don't want to see the mini options. Mini options are going to be your 10 shares per contract. There's none on this, vehicle. Mini options are 10 shares per contract. I'm not really interested in trading those, as they are less liquid products. So I don't want to see those. So I'm going to unselect that. But I do want to see weeklies and quarterlies. Even though they're non-standard monthly options, I do want to see those. Okay. I want to see in my positions statement, where we're monitoring all of our current positions and orders, I do want to see news and corporate actions. Corporate actions throughout the platform refer to any news on the company, any earnings reports that have happened or are coming up, any splits or reverse splits, any dividend payments coming up. It's going to display those using icons that give us an indication that something's happening on a corporate company level, right? And so we want to see if there's any news surrounding that. So I do want to show that when they have something coming up. And then you can change, how often you get your news, mark corporate actions. So here's an important one. You can customize this and say, I never want to see corporate actions, in which case nothing will ever show up relative to the company in terms of news, fundamentals, earnings reports coming up, any of that. But I do want to see that information, especially when trading stocks. Now, I believe the default might be 4 weeks out. So what's going to happen is if a corporate event is coming up within the next 4 weeks and you have this set, it'll display it in your platform next to your ticker symbol in the watch list on the left in the grid. In the gadget section. It'll also display it on the chart itself, right? And I'll show you what that looks like as well. But I like to give myself, 8 weeks. Give me 8 weeks. All the corporate announcements for the next 8 weeks, just show me all of those. Include with symbols, include working orders. I keep all this default. So the only real thing that I changed here was from the defaults, if I recall, is I want to see 3 decimal places for the Greeks and mark the corporate actions 8 weeks from now. Calculations, volatility calculation. I left this for the individual implied volatility. I want the beta calculation to be fast, right? Which is how sensitive is your stock relative to the S&P 500. That is the definition of beta. And then your profit and loss, your P&L display method. What is my execution price, right? Versus my cost, which may include commissions, because there are commissions on certain vehicles here at Thinkorswim. And then whatever your preferred language is, mine is English, right? So that's the general, that's under the general tab under application settings. Now under notifications, I've got my email address and my phone number set up here to send me notifications of orders that have been filled, alerts that are triggering. I want to be notified on my mobile device if I'm away from my computer, even if I'm in the house. I want to be notified if something is happening, and having your email, and I use my phone number as well, so I get 2 messages. You can choose what gets sent to you. So order fills, let me know. If an alert is triggered, let me know. If there's chats going on or any sort of system login, let me know, right? So I keep alerts and orders filled. And you can customize any of those settings in this window as well. Apply those settings. Don't forget to apply that. And then that'll set those in stone, okay? Order defaults. This is an important one as well. I notice a lot of times when folks are setting up new positions in stocks, the order default, when you go to set up an order and analyze a new position, the default is always 100 shares. I don't mind leaving it at 100 shares. That's fine. Default order type, I would always use limit. So that's standard. I leave that the same. And then your stop market, right? So it's just a standard order, stop order, right? I leave that the same. But what I do change is under options, right? So I come down here to options. The default quantity for options, no idea why, is 10 contracts. Now, when I'm analyzing a position, risk reward. Does this position work for me or not? I don't want to analyze this position in 1,000 share or 10 contract increments. I always want to analyze it on a 100 share or one contract position size, and then build up in contract position size if I can afford to take more risk in a position. So if you don't change this from 10 down to 1, then anytime you set up a new position, let me give you an example here. If you go to trade a new position, say, let's go for these May 285 puts. Notice default is 10. You might get sick of that and say, well, I only want to do one, right? Let's start with one. Or if you're analyzing a new position, you may want to buy the 285 puts. If you're analyzing a position, it defaults to 10. You will have to reduce this down to 1 every time and then start your analysis process. To avoid having your default set to 10, go under your application settings under order defaults, go to options, just change that to 1, apply those settings, and that will be your default from now on. And worse, Larry, you just commented, first time in Thinkorswim, I sold 10 contracts by mistake. Yeah, that's an easy mistake to make, especially I have no idea why the default is set up for 10. In my mind, all the defaults should be the smallest position size, and one contract is the smallest position size. So set that to default. That would be my recommendation there. For futures, it's default 1, I believe. Futures options, make sure everything's defaulted back to 1, or for stocks, 100 share increments, or for forex, $10,000 positions, right? And so you can change all your order defaults in here. You can set up hotkeys. I know some people like to use hotkeys to quickly get in and out of positions and switch to different tabs. I personally don't use hotkeys, but you can go in here and set up hotkeys, which are like quick draw keys, especially if you're doing a lot of intraday scalping, which is very high speed entry and exit. Then you can set up, key commands that allow you to get in and out without having to, use your mouse at all, which can be really helpful there. And then your profile. So you can, if you do any sort of communicating with other Thinkorswim platform users around the world, you can set up your platform and add a picture of yourself, and or do none of that. I don't communicate with other Thinkorswim users necessarily, so I've never really set up this section, but we'll apply all the setting changes, and then that's application settings. Now you can go ahead and once you set up your workspace, which is what we're going to start setting up now, and you can save your workspace and recall that workspace on any other machine. You can share your workspace with other Thinkorswim users. You can walk away and lock the application so no one can use it while you're gone. But a lot of this can be shared and stored on the servers, which means you can then access that from other machines that you might be trading on at your office, a friend's house, a computer at a family member's house that you're visiting, the library, wherever, right? And those are application settings. Any questions so far on the application settings before I move on to these tabs at the very top? Any questions so far? Sharing is awesome, and you can share it with yourself if you set it up in a paper account. And there you go. So that's one way, Melanie, is if you want to transfer your settings from your paper account to your live account, you can do that through that sharing function. Versus setting everything up from scratch again. That's what you're talking about, Melanie, right? Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. absolutely. I learned that late. Yep, same here. I've set this platform up a whole bunch of times on a bunch of different machines. And so, I don't actually mind, going back through and setting up the platform again. Like this is actually really good for me. Why? Because sometimes they'll upon updates, and the platform auto updates when you log in, so you don't have any choice but to update to the latest version. Sometimes the update provides new features that they don't tell you about. You just have to stumble upon them, and you may never stumble upon them unless you go back through and set up your charts, or just get in the habit of going through each menu every now and again. So that is, I actually like this process of resetting up the platform. So application settings, going once, going twice. If you have any questions down the road, we could always come back to it, but I'm going to move on now to all of the menus at the very top. So